Foreign Minister, thanks for your time and welcome to CNBC.
Thank you for inviting me.
Foreign Minister, how confident are you that both sides will adhere to this ceasefire agreement that's just been announced?
Well, I'm confident that the government of Lebanon is going to implement it as per the documents we received. There would be no problem of implementing it. We'll be sending troops down south and gradually in 60 days the security of south of the Litani would be in the hands of the Lebanese armed forces and UNIFIL.
Minister, of course, Lebanon has a caretaker government, so what measures are being taken now to ensure that the terms of this ceasefire are actually enforced, and how much power does Lebanon actually have over this situation?
Well, as I said, regarding the government of Lebanon, whether we are a caretaking or not, I mean, this is a decision we have to take. There is no vacuum in the government. So we are ready, willing, and determined to really implement faithfully the agreement, which is 1701, which is United Nations Security Council Resolution 1701. We want to implement it fully, completely, without any problem. And we have a committee, if there is any problem, committee of 5 countries, as you know, and 4 countries and UNIFIL. If we have any problem, we'll discuss it there and we'll fix it.
So you believe 1701 will be fully enforced? If so, that also means Hezbollah needs to lay down its arms. Will it do that? And if so, how will you make sure that that happens?
1701 calls for Hezbollah to withdraw to north of the Litani, and that no authority and no weapons except for the government of Lebanon and UNIFIL weapons. And the authority is for the government of Lebanon. That's what 1701 calls for.
Israel has, of course, taken pride in the last few months that it has severely diminished Hezbollah. So I want your take on the role that Hezbollah will play in Lebanon, not just within the government, but also as a force on the ground moving forward. How do you see the situation changing from this point on as a result of what has unfolded over the last few months?
Well, I would be analyzing the situation, which is not good for a foreign minister of a country, But let me tell you, this agreement was because we communicate all the time. We discuss all of these issues with Hezbollah and others all the time. And therefore, Hezbollah knows what's going on and knows about the agreement, agreed to the agreement, and I'm sure they would implement it faithfully as well.
It's fair to say, though, that Hezbollah dragged Lebanon into a war that its people did not want and did not ask for.
You may say so because they started on the 8th, but if you go back to New York Times a week after the October 7, you will see that Israel was ready for a war as well. I'm not defending Hezbollah, but I'm also you have to point the attention to Israeli intentions as well.
So what role will Hezbollah play in the future, and will it be diminished as the Americans and as the Israelis would like?
Military-wise, they have no role to play. We gradually have to, if things get better, we still have. Let me say, the border between us and Israel, between Lebanon and Israel, is not yet settled. It has to be settled completely. If Israel continues to occupy Lebanese land, we cannot stop any resistance movement from rising against Israel. Now, in the West, they call it terrorist, they call it whatever. We call it resistance movement as long as we have occupied areas and Israel occupies Lebanese areas.
I have to ask as well, this deal was, of course, brokered by the US and France with Israel and Hezbollah, as I mentioned. What talks have you and the Lebanese caretaker government had with US officials over the last few months, and have you been officially involved in these negotiations and a path forward for Lebanon now?
Well, the government has asked the speaker to lead the negotiations. He was keeping us informed all the time, and we were discussing all issues together, and he was discussing it also with with Hezbollah as well. So it is indirectly, sometimes directly with the U.S. government, but the real one was with the Speaker of the Parliament.
And in your view, Foreign Minister, does this Hezbollah deal break the deadlock with Hamas in Gaza?
Well, you know, the government of Lebanon was ready for a ceasefire long time ago, but because we could not separate between Gaza and Lebanon, we didn't ask for it. And also that Israel did not want it as well, because we discussed it with the Americans. So now it is separated. Lebanon cannot, I mean, look, the issue is that it's very difficult to help Gaza, what's happening in Gaza. We cannot save any building that Israel is destroying, and we cannot save any person that Israel is killing. So it's useless really to do it, to say that we are really, we can help Gaza in its war.
I wanted to ask you as well about this recent World Bank report that says the cost of the conflict in Lebanon will be around $8.5 billion. Lebanon's economy minister spoke to me only a short time ago. He said that actual number is probably more than double that. So what is the path forward for Lebanon and its economy now, and how is Lebanon going to pay for this?
Look, the World Bank report is an estimate, and it was before the ceasefire estimate. I think now we'll have, and we'll ask them also to do a better estimate, exact estimate. It could be this much. I think its tendency is that it is more than that, but it is not really, but it is, you know, it's a good estimate, I think, coming from the World Bank.
It's also fair to say that the Gulf may not necessarily come to help Lebanon like it did in 2006. So how will you assist to rebuild Lebanon without the support of the Gulf this time around? And what is your message to leaders in the region?
Well, we are receiving humanitarian help from all Gulf countries, from Saudi Arabia, from Qatar, from UAE, from Kuwait, from all Arab, I mean, oil-producing Arab countries. We did not start with them the discussion for further assistance regarding reconstruction and the building of the infrastructure in Lebanon. So we'll be doing that soon, and we'll see what happens.
And of course, as you full well know, we are in a period of transition in the United States with President-elect Donald Trump returning to the White House. Can I ask you, what type of support do you realistically expect from the United States when Iran still has such influence over Lebanon? It's been said that Lebanon is a country under de facto Iranian control, and a government in power in Lebanon, a caretaker government that continues to allow Hezbollah to have the influence that it has. So is it realistic to expect support from international partners from the West and from the United States, given the state of play on the ground still?
Look, first, we are receiving a lot of support from Western countries now. Second, I want to say that this story that Iran has running Lebanon is not correct at all. Iran has influence through Hezbollah on Lebanon, no doubt about that. But Hezbollah does not run Lebanon. We, of course, consult with each other all the time. Hezbollah is a very influential party in Lebanon, but it does not run Lebanon. If you look at our record in the United Nations of how we vote, you see our voting is mostly with Western countries and with Arab Gulf countries, not with Iran and not with the other countries, okay? So I don't know how you measure the influence. I have not been like saying great things about Iran or anybody else. So I don't know how you measure the influence of Iran in this country, except through the presence of Hezbollah.
Well, I think it's also fair to say that everyday Lebanese people are tired of this foreign influence. They want a government that is free and fair, that they choose on their own, not a government that is under the influence of Iran and of Hezbollah. Is that something that you could promise them in the future as Lebanon's economy continues to face crisis after crisis?
You know, this government is not under the influence of Iran. I say that. I mean, Iran has allies in Lebanon, no doubt about that. It's Hezbollah. But I mean, this is like the cabinet is 24 members. They have 3 or 2 even. So no, it's not under the influence. And how would the influence show? Okay, in the south, in the war, you know, I'll tell you, most Lebanese did not like the war. But also we do not like to have civil unrest. So, you know, choices in Lebanon, I have to admit, are between the bad and the worst. They are not between the bad and the good. And we pick the bad, better than the worst. So, no, so that's why you see we support Hezbollah, but we don't support the war, as the Lebanese, I'm saying. And the government had nothing, no say in the decision to go to war. We have to admit that. So, but it doesn't mean that Iran, you know, has a complete influence over Lebanon. It does not. I think the American ambassador has more influence in Lebanon far more influence in Lebanon than the Iranian ambassador.
So just walk me through this. Hezbollah, of course, is funded and controlled by Iran. They control key functions of the Lebanese state, including the airport. They control parts of the border as well. So help me understand how Hezbollah is not in control of Lebanon today.
No, you see, it so happened that the Minister of Public Work, who was really nominated by Hezbollah, but he's not a Hezbollah member. Yes, he is Shiite like Hezbollah. Yeah, but he has been very fair. I'll tell you recently, like we do not accept any assistance coming from Iran, coming through the airport or through the port. And this is the minister that you call Minister of Hezbollah, who is in charge of the port and the airport. And we told the Iranians we don't accept them. The Iranians were insisting, and we said, no, you are not welcome to send us any assistance. I'm talking about humanitarian assistance, which we badly need, through the airport or through the port. You can send it through international organization if you desire to do that.
So what's your message to the people of Lebanon who might be listening to this interview and thinking, why should we trust our government at all?
Well, I mean, you know, there is no government on earth which is really trusted by all its population. I'm sure whether it is in Britain or in the United States, I mean, you can tell. And I'm not claiming that this government has the trust of all Lebanese, but it has the trust of most Lebanese, really. And you don't see any problems arising against the decisions of the government, except when it comes to salaries, which is a very important issue because we've had an economic downfall a few years ago, and we're still recovering from this downfall. Otherwise, I mean, you don't see demonstrations against this government and taking this decision or that, because the decisions that we're taking, they are in coordination with most of the political leadership in the country. And we also, again, I want to say, the American ambassador has more influence than the Iranian ambassador here in this country. Okay? And
so, Foreign Minister,
yes.
Foreign Minister, sorry to interrupt you, but we can sit here together today and you can tell me that Hezbollah will lay down its arms after this ceasefire agreement. That's what you're saying here.
I told you before that as long as we have occupied land, it's not difficult, probably impossible, not to have resistance. And I mean military resistance. So we've got to fix our borders with Israel. We want to fix them once and for good. The borders with Israel, we need to do it. It is Lebanon that was asking to do it. Israel has been delaying. So let's hope that Israel and US pressure, and with the new administration in the United States, would pressure them in order to settle all border disputes between us and Israel. And there would be no reason, no justification for any resistance or what you call in the West, terrorist act.
Minister, just finally, do you believe that Lebanon and the region will be safer under President Trump than what it was under President Biden?
Let me not predict on these issues. Now we had an administration, the Biden administration, we're dealing with it. When we move to the Trump administration, we have to deal with the Trump administration. I'm not going to say that this is better than the other. This is not my, it's not my issue at all.
Well, Minister, we'll leave it there. I appreciate the conversation. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much.